Yes, my people. It's your boy Beej.
It's your boy Seb.
It's another episode of Blocks to Bags, that show where you come and get entrepreneur advice, creator advice, and you get them hacks of things you can do to get to the bag. This week's episode is with a Forbes cover artist, Forbes 30 under 30. His name's Ibrahim Kamar. He is one of the co-founders of GUAP magazine. I've seen this magazine be literally built from the ground up, from the block in South London, knocking on doors 2016, 2015, 2017, entering the industry. Two brothers literally just ideating the stories they wanted to see told. They've now gone on and had campaigns with Nike, Adidas. They've platformed artists before they've made it. The artists have gone on to be nominated for Brits, win Mobile Awards, perform at festivals. Last year they did something quite daring. They took over the National History Museum and had their own gala. What do you know about having your own gala? Ibrahim, welcome to the show.
Thanks, that was a great intro, bro.
Come on, man. Listen, like, there's a lot of accolades we can kind of start the conversation with, but I think something that is consistent, no matter who you talk to, is the work ethic. There's a lot of work that has been done that we've now seen, that people have praised, and there's probably so much work that the world has never seen. What kind of mindset do you have now, and has it changed as you've spent time in the industry?
No, not really. I think my mindset is, if you want it, or do you want it, or do you really want it? Because if you really want it, you'll make it happen. So I don't really have excuses for a lot of things. I think if I want to get something done, just got to find a way to make it happen and do the steps to make it happen. And that's never changed. I'm a really big advocate for hard work. I feel like everything has a cause and reaction, and the reaction to hard work is achieving things, I think.
Love that. And with that hard work, it's also meant kind of like collaboration. Mm-hmm. It's meant, thinking on your feet a lot, but also kind of leaning for support. Have you found that it's been easy to transition from, two co-founders to, being a CEO where you got staff, you've got contractors? What's the journey been like in terms of becoming a manager and leader?
Yeah, I think that's probably been one of the hardest things, I would say. I think because we started ourselves and we used to do a lot of the things ourselves. I think there's a certain standard, certain way you work that you want things to get done in. And then finding people who can either match that or do better, especially if you have a high threshold of what good is, can be quite difficult. But I think it's all trial and error. I think some people you're going to connect with, some people you're not going to connect with. Some people are going to be great at their job, some people are going to be not so great at their job. And I think it's about, when you do find the people that are great, allowing yourself to allow them to do what you've hired them for, and allowing them to bring their expertise and their knowledge in to make things better. So I think once you do find those people, it is that thing of just allowing them to do what they do.
That's hard. And, we've seen the journey of GUAP, the come up, pretty much royalty at this point.
Definitely.
No, for real. And I feel like we've kind of grown up with GUAP magazine as well, and we've kind of seen your kind of come up, and it's been amazing to see. And you've sat at the intersection between creators and business. We're having a chat earlier on about some of the plans that you guys have, how you're scaling, how you're getting to that bag. Now, my question for you is, what advice do you have for creators for how to kind of equip themselves to get the bag going forward? And have things changed since you came into the kind of game?
I think one of the pieces of advice I'd give is, I don't think most of the things anyone is doing is completely original. So I would say study hard those that came before you.
Yeah.
And try to study their business models in every way you can. So for GUAP, our inspiration was Vice. So I've watched probably every interview of the Vice founders, any article I could find on their business model and things, read everything. And then people like Jamal Edwards, I read his book. watch his interviews. When I did get the chance to meet him, asked him certain questions kind of thing. So I think studying those before you and then adapting can help you find a business model. But then I'd also, the second part of the question was, have things changed? I'll say yes, because for us, we started in 2015 and didn't really make proper money until 2020.
5 years.
Yeah,
5 years.
I think in 2020, the whole industry changed in regards to like, not everyone wanted to reach young creatives. Not everyone wants to reach diverse audiences, etc., etc. And because we were one of the only platforms that done that at the size we were at, it means everything changed for us. So I think one thing that has changed is the mentality that people have relating to our audience, because our audience wasn't so attractive when we first started. Saying you're documenting emerging talent, not like popular people, that wasn't attractive before, where now to the industry is attractive because most of these brands want to reach Gen Z audiences that are new and that kind of stuff. So
I love that. And just one question to touch on. I love when you're talking about business models, because very rarely do I hear people from the creator economy and the creative industries really talk about that. So what is like the business model of GUAP? If you just want to break it down for our audience, like how do you guys actually generate revenue and like what's the business like behind that?
Yeah, so for most media platforms, they will have their main form of media, which is them creating content in the way they create content.
Yeah.
Behind the scenes, they usually have a creative agency. So we have a creative agency where brands come to us to create content in the way we do to reach new audiences. Yeah. So let's say a Nike or an Adidas might come to us and say, shoot this campaign with talent we have, but distribute it through GUAP.
Okay.
But then because we run the magazine, we're able to do everything from research and insights within our community all the way to post-production. So different brands will come to us for maybe just research, or they might just come to us to shoot, or they might come to us to shoot something and it doesn't even go into our platform. But we do a range of things from the research and insights to just overall campaigns for these brands kind of thing. So that's our main bread and butter. But then obviously we do things like events. Yeah. Where we now obviously have the GUAP Gala.
GUAP Gala, it was big. It was big.
It was really cool. That's another revenue stream. So yeah, it's a mixture of content, events, and creative agency creating stuff for brands in short.
So there's probably some lessons that people can take from the evolution, right? So it was a magazine and now it's full service media business essentially. What have been some lessons from running the podcast studio side of things? Because that obviously has evolved. It was in one location, it's another location. It was on all the time. It's on at a certain time now. But yeah, what lessons do you have from running a successful London podcast studio?
Yeah, I think for us, probably one of the main things we learned is like not to be greedy. And that's even the reason why part of the reason why we stepped back, because it's like, it was doing really well. We was making a lot of money from it, but then the time taken, the value of the time was probably worth more. So rather than getting greedy and saying, yeah, we're going to open up more studios and stuff, we just like scaled back a little bit. So one of the lessons I've learned during that process was if you like be the people behind it rather than the people doing it, because we could have just said, oh yeah, we're going to start a podcast, but we saw that loads of people were trying to start podcasts but didn't have space to do it. So if you are able to like fill a gap and do it in a way where it's like you're not being greedy or you're making it affordable for people and stuff, you find like a unique space for people to like do stuff, and it usually works if you're able to fill a gap that's definitely needed, but then in filling that gap, not being greedy.
Yeah, for sure. What other lessons have you got from running a podcast studio? Like, what did you learn about security? What did you learn about managing tech? Like, if someone's trying to open up a podcast studio right now in Birmingham or in Luton, like, what's the playbook of things they need to think about? We'll probably do a couple lessons, or do lessons of podcast, lessons in magazine, lessons of working talent. These are those gems that someone can just walk away with.
This is the real life gems. This is what people want to know. Like, how do you actually get up and running the business model to things? You said,
I think with a podcast studio, ultimately, you just need a space that's quite affordable and your initial investment. And then after that, it's more about customer service, like having great customer service. So when people are inquiring about the space, making sure someone's there to answer questions all the time kind of thing. Making sure someone's there when people are recording, just in case there's anything that goes wrong, and so someone's there to help. And I'll say, offer as much time as you can in it, because obviously the more time you can have available, the more money you would make, I would say. That would be my 3 things.
Love that.
On that.
So that's one model you guys have got, and you guys done well with it. The creative agency. This is something that, how many creative agencies have we seen try to pop up? You know, how many production companies we've seen pop up? But you guys are doing it from the other way in, which is you lot had the skills to do video from the start, you know, but you built a platform instead. So you had built audience, and now you're going back in and able to do stuff at the right budget versus, you know, just doing it backpack kind of style. But yeah, what would you say have been lessons from building a creative agency, especially when that's not what you started initially? You were a magazine and you're telling stories and breaking people into the industry.
And was that the plan originally as well, to like do this whole vertical integration where when you first started out, you saw this was the vision, like we'll start off with the media platform, then we'll start offering like production services and research and insights, and then go on to kind of events? No,
because when we started, really, we didn't really think about the business model, if I'm being honest. Like, it's just something we learned on the way. One of the main things I learned with the creative agency side is create the things that you want brands to like pay you for before they pay you.
Big gem. Okay. I can definitely agree. Anytime I've done that in my life, whether it be creating a food marketplace, influence agency, as soon as you do it, is then people support people that they can
see doing it,
doing stuff.
Yeah, because I think that's where we benefit being a magazine, because I think we create content every day. So we're not waiting for a brand's money to create. Where I think a lot of creative agencies who don't have a magazine, they can only create when there's money there, there's a budget, where we don't. So I think us being able to create all the time gives us this big portfolio that anytime a brand comes to us, we can show them, oh, we got this version, and we can show them how our audience reacts to it because we put it out. Where again, with the creative agencies, a lot of them,
it's ideas based on vibes.
Based on vibes, and ideas based on the budget. Whereas like us, whether we get a budget or not, we're going to create. So I think that's probably one of the biggest things, because I think that's worked for us, because I'm gonna lie, for us, we've never actually gone out to a brand to get work. Everything GUAP has been inbound. So I'm hiring a salesperson this year to start doing outbound, but every brand we've worked with has been inbound, and that's literally come from the ecosystem of GUAP creating content, audience seeing it, maybe someone in the audience is.
But I think that's something that I always like about creators like you, who you're entrepreneurs, but you're entrepreneurs creatively rather than textbook entrepreneurs. And what you're describing is part of a sales funnel process anyways. Is what we would call lead generation. And you're doing lead generation via telling stories, creating data, and in your business context, you're creating pixels where people are getting retargeted. Naturally, if people are like, even without you running adverts, because actually as a media magazine, you have run ads, but these are your adverts. That's bringing people to know who you are. And then they're like, oh, like some people, like you find the clients who actually, they really want that thing. So they just go to that thing that does that thing. So it's a natural thing. Like sometimes I'll go to an event and I'll see a DJ do a set that I really want. I go to any DJ, but I want that thing from that thing that you did. Or like, for example, there's a friend of mine who shot Pusha T in a certain way. When I work with talent and I want them to have a certain look, I'm like, oh, like, that's the person. Because I can see, you can show them the example. So it's part of sampling. You're basically doing what we'll teach in if this was a business class. You're giving people to sample what you do. You then got...
Block MBA,
you've then got lead generation going on, because actually you have a website people are going to and people can inquire. and you've come up with your own like organic and authentic marketing campaign.
Generating awareness constantly and driving that sort of attention back to your website and converting that to actual business and big brands.
It's the holy grail, man.
When you talk like that's the thing, like I'm gonna lie, that's all like business lingo. I'm gonna lie, we don't even look at it like.
But that's the beauty. That's the beauty of like in this industry that they call business that has loads of mini industries inside it.
Yeah.
It's like you don't need to be someone else to make it. Like you lot are just being yourselves, and then you're picking what brand to work with, and you're also doubling down and proving, hey, we don't. Because even anything I've said that's lingo, it's just from years of working. Man didn't go to school for this, did it? But like, I love this shit so much. Like, I build loads of different things. But I'm like, so when people come talk to me, I've been trying and it's hard. It is hard. It's always hard. You just had to took 5 years at one point. But my thing is like, guys, girls, my people, them, like, there are so many different ways to get to the bag. Like the most important thing actually if you're gonna make a business, not a project, is the cash flow. Like when you have cash flow, then you can actually move around. Okay, when you don't have cash flow, what can you do that gives you cash flow? Okay, if you're focused on those two things, like it's more easier to make decisions around what we're doing next if you've got 10K or 5K or 50K in the buffer rather than zero, you know? So what you guys have proven, and many other people that we've interviewed have proven, both those who are most eloquent about business and those who just keep it real simple, the consistent thing with everyone is you've had product market fit, which essentially is your thing that you made is connecting with the culture or the target customers that you want to talk to. And that for me is like one of the biggest lessons of what you described.
Yeah, that's so interesting because I'm gonna lie, I think one of our next steps is we might actually raise. So, and it makes me question if I'm meant to know all of this, like if I'm meant to explain things.
You don't, you're hiring smart people. Like for example, you have Rashida that's in your team now. Like someone I've known for years, friends of my sibling Bernice, friends of Remy. Like you're hiring smart people who would normally like work at other bigger companies. So it's just a talent thing. And then you've also got people like you can text like me on the phone. You've got Andy, you got other Andy, you got bare people where it's like people right now, and for example, me and Seb always talk about it. So last year we invested in a few businesses together, and one of the things that I looked for was just traction. Like a lot of angel investors and institutional investors now, they're no longer just looking at who everyone's invested in. They're looking at your papers, and you've got papers, isn't it? That's the difference.
And not even just that, like people are wanting to, like angels are wanting to get involved with more businesses because the founders are not just asking for money. It's like, what value can you add? Like, can you connect me to more investors? Do you really understand my business?
Can you help me go to a new market?
Yeah, exactly.
Can you help me find talent?
Yeah, exactly. So the game is changing, isn't it? Like the game is changing a lot. And I think with this whole finding product market fit, you lot have clearly found it, and like you're getting loads of inbound, and now it's like go time, scale, innit? In the VC world, once you find product market fit, that's the whole point of seed and pre-seed is to find product market fit. And once you found that product market fit, go time. And we were talking a bit about GUAP and how you guys are looking to kind of scale and whatnot. So you were saying something very interesting about geographies and tapping into different sort of geographical locations and the creator communities there. Can you touch on that a little bit?
Yeah, I was saying that we travel quite a bit, and most of the places we've been to, when we tap into the creative communities that are there, a lot of them tell us that in their region, there isn't a GUAP equivalent.
Yeah.
There's a lot of like, let's say like music platforms in like different places, but platforms that cover the whole like creative spectrum.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of platforms for people that come from like, let's say multicultural backgrounds or other diverse communities until you get to a certain point. So I think for us, we want to be that platform for these creative communities worldwide. And just make GUAP mean something to every like emerging creative so that they know that this is the place that for them to be, kind of thing. So that's what we're trying to work on right now.
Talk to me about finding talent. So obviously one thing with, profiling and highlighting people is the fact that you have the opportunity to find talent to put onto screen, find talent to put on the papers, and find talent obviously to bring in house. Do you and your team have like a GUAP criteria list? How has that evolved over the years? Like you might have looked at something differently 5 years ago. Well, it's gonna be 8-7 years ago now.
I think it hasn't changed, but basically because me and Jide started together, we have we have this model in our head that was very hard to explain to other people because we know what it was. Mm-hmm. So what's changed is that we've now actually put it on paper for our team to understand what's that threshold. So we do have like an internal like model that kind of puts creatives in like different brackets, but then it also says at each stage what is like the content offerings we can do with each type of creative that makes sense for GUAP as a business, but then also makes sense for the creative and the stage they're at. So we just go with that right now.
I love that. Yeah. And that's something that you are now finding is going to be a good way to obviously train your other team members to
100%.
pick it up.
So we've got
what are some of the ingredients that make someone worthy of being profiled by GUAP or invited to a GUAP experience?
So they have to be from some sort of diverse community or be from like a social economical background that isn't at the top, because that's the thing that
they gotta be from the block.
Yeah, not even from the block, but it's just like that's what relates to emerging. A lot of emerging talent comes from one of these communities, and just systematically that is just the truth in it, kind of thing. So emerging, they have to be doing something that's actually good, like undeniably creative. So whether or not we know them or not, if we was to read their story or look into them, we'd be like, oh, this is cool, this is sick, kind of thing. But so it doesn't matter if they've got thousands of followers or not. It's literally, do we think it's sick? If we think it's sick, that's good. What else? I think those are the main two on like the thing. And then the levels are, we have like emerging creatives, which are like creatives that might not have a big audience yet, but they're good at what they do, so it's worth covering. So they might get an article, or we might do like a photo series with them. Then we have establishing creatives who are just like more established, probably have influence over a micro community, have built some sort of following, people know who they are, kind of thing. And then we have creative icons who are probably like mainstream creatives that probably everyone knows and everyone looks up to, kind of thing. So each creative will probably fit into like one of those pillars. But then the secondary one is the stuff I said earlier about like how good they are, like what they do and stuff.
We love that. Clarity. Talk to us about building a gala.
Yes.
So something obviously it took, a year plus to work on. It wasn't random. Like it looks like minimum $250,000 was spent on it, if not half. So it's a significant investment. Again, it's not a 5 or 10K or 20K thing.
Small boy stuff, right?
What was the impact of the first gala for you and your business so far before we get into lessons?
Impact wise, it definitely took us from like an underground thing to like more mainstream. So I feel like people, even if you don't know what GUAP is, you kind of saw or heard what the GUAP Gala was. So it definitely put us in a new light. In terms of numbers and stuff, like the hashtag done like 58 million reach for like our first one. It done like better than like some traditional award ceremonies and stuff. I think it just set a precedent that is like, as long as we do this every year, it's going to be something that people aspire and creatives want to be at, but also be awarded at, kind of thing. So it was a very good first year, like exceeded my expectations. It was good.
And what were the lessons learned in running something of that scale? As I said, you've got events that you guys are doing now.
Yeah.
Did you have like multiple agencies contracting with you? So for example, when I've done a few large scale things, done like a big marketplace for teens, supermarket in 2015. I've done food marketplace in 2020. These things that one of them I had 65 people working for me. Another one we had 20 working, and then agencies two different approaches, both like big moments. One of them we had bus adverts, tube adverts. The other one's all digital. So different learnings. I would probably do stuff different, but I'm always thinking of new ways to really have a moment that means that in society. And when I come out, the lessons for me they've changed. But I've had lessons like, for example, actually we could have done more lead up time. And other lessons have been actually, how could we have integrated their sponsors, revenue a bit more. But yeah, now you've done your first one, for example. What have been some of your lessons from GUAP Gala, number one, that you're going to be changing, thinking about, or doing more of?
Things like starting the process earlier in regards to like, we got our sponsors involved like really late. So I think...
What's late?
Like 8 weeks before we had already launched before we had our sponsors involved. So starting that process a lot earlier so that we could do like a true partnership from the start and have them involved all the way through. Not saying yes to every partner that comes. We didn't say no to a lot of people, but we didn't say yes to a lot of people, but there was a few partners, not even a few, there was one partner that I probably wouldn't work with again. So knowing that, making sure that the partners that get involved are truly the right ones, not just for the money kind of thing. One thing I would have learned, standing your ground and making sure you could do, I think again for me, making sure you could do it with or without other people. Because I think that's one thing that kind of helped us because we was going to do it anyway. So that gave us leverage when it came to certain decisions. So if you are able to be in that position where you can do it without other people, it will give you more leverage in like negotiations. And then I think the other thing I would say is, what else did I learn? That you can't make everyone happy. I feel like...
Say that louder for those at the back.
You can't make everyone happy. I feel like my business partner said something about when you're doing something that's great, you have to create havoc. And if you haven't created havoc, it's not big enough. He said, when a giant walks...
Hey, pull that back, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, like you have to create havoc. When a giant walks through somewhere, it creates havoc. So if you're doing something that is really big, it's going to create noise, it's going to create havoc. And within that havoc, not everyone's going to be happy, but you just got to keep going.
I love that. What's your time saying? Because you got a viewing.
I literally got a viewing, man.
You see that live, guys. So let's wrap on. Let's wrap on. What's your vision for creatives in the future? So you've obviously been around the scene for a while now. You're still live building. You haven't left the scene, but what's that pep talk we can give to a creative who this year is literally looking to build a business in media, looking to build a business in marketing, build a business in the space? Like, what's our vision for creatives?
I would say, because there are two questions.
There's two questions. Yeah, that's to you how you want to take it.
Question, is for creatives to stop calling it Well, my first thing would be creatives to understand that they are businesses and not just creatives. Because a lot of the times creatives are like, oh, I'm not really good at the money stuff. But then you're not trying to be a creative then. Because to be a creative, you need to understand the business. So there needs to stop being this like disparity between the two. Like if you're trying to be a creative, get to know the business kind of thing. So I'll say that. And my vision for creatives in general is just stay creating, like to be honest, and that short-term satisfaction is never better than long-term. So even when you think it's not working, you never know who's watching. Just keep creating. That's what I would say.
Big facts. Ibs, it's been a pleasure.
I'm so sorry I have to rush off, guys. I'm looking for a new house.
Don't forget, guys, like, comment, subscribe. Thank you for tuning in. Follow up with GUAP at Ibs.